Hello and welcome. This is episode number 19 of BeekTalk. BeekTalk is the weekly live stream show that talks about different methods and approaches that one might take when they're keeping bees. Today we have a special subject. It's going to be a quick show because I am not an expert in this topic, but I feel since today is the day, it's appropriate to talk about it. Today is the 20th of April, which is a internationally celebrated holiday. And today our topic is going to be about cannabis and honeybees. And we're going to be dispelling some of the misinformation you might find online about it. And like I said, I'm not an expert in this topic. However, I do know enough where I can dispel some fake news when I see it. So if you are just watching the show for the first time, be sure that you give our page, Might Fight and Blossom Buzz Beekeeping, a like so you can see this show every week when it comes out. I am starting at a bit of a delay today. I usually start at 4 o'clock, but I was doing some additional research because I want to make sure I get my facts straight for you folks today. So I'm going to be talking a lot about a product today called Cannabis Honey or Canna Honey. So I added that banner to the bottom. Let me know in the comments if you are watching the show and where you're watching from. And also, I'd like to know if you've ever tried cannabis honey. So here it goes. You might have seen some clickbaity articles that are out there about cannabis and honeybees and how they go together. And to be honest, it's a little bit of wishful thinking. Wishful thinking, also a little misleading. Of course, I'm talking about this today because it's 420, and it seems like the perfect day to dispel some fake news around the topic. So in beekeeping, we take care of honeybees, Apis mellifera. There are hundreds and thousands of different species of bees that fly around in our environment. Beekeepers are only really good at taking care of one kind, and that is honeybees. So this is kind of where some of the confusion comes in. You might read an article that says cannabis or hemp is good for bees, but which ones? I'm going to tell you up front that honeybees don't really benefit very much at all. If anything, it's negligible, it's small, how much they benefit from having a hemp farm or a cannabis farm around. Contrary to what you might hear in the news, but that's the way it goes. Native pollinators, there's many more species, many more varieties of native pollinators, and some of those can reap some benefits from cannabis. But I'm going to go in topic by topic and talk about it. So certainly, I love interacting with people. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments, or if you'd like to let me know where you're listening and viewing from, I'd love to have that information too and see how far my show reaches. I see some folks are watching, and I always love it. So like I said, we take care of honeybees, and that's where the confusion comes in. Like I said, honeybees don't really get very much from the hemp plants. However, some specialized pollinators might be able to extract some pollen from our cannabis plants. So like I said in the beginning, and I'm going to probably say it a few more times, I am not an expert in this. I've just done some research, and I just figured this is the right show and the right day to talk about it. So I'm just gonna clear up some confusion that I've noticed from some folks that I talk to when I'm trying to sell some honey. Here's the big thing. Cannabis or weed or hemp plants are actually wind pollinated. That means they don't need pollinators. The environment does the pollinating. Since the plants themselves don't need pollinators to do their reproduction, they don't spend any energy on attracting pollinators. Plants have to exert a lot of energy to produce nectar and to produce that pollen and really entice honeybees and other pollinators to come and take up those resources and distribute them from plant to plant. Hemp is wind pollinated, so they don't need it. And since they don't produce nectar, there's no way for the bees, our honeybees, to make honey out of it. Pollen is protein, and nectar is their carbohydrates. That's their food source, and that's what we take to eat. So without nectar, you're not getting honey. Especially targeted cannabis honey. I already talked about that. Moving on. You might have seen articles that talk about cannabis honey and how the booming cannabis industry is going to save the honeybees. That's fake news. That's clickbait. Things that sell cannabis and saving the bees. So places who want you to click onto their website are certainly going to rock that angle. Like I said, you can't get honey made naturally from hemp plants. Or can you? There is a company called Phytopharma who currently has a patent-protected technology, and apparently they're making real honey out of from our honeybees from a special cannabis plant, a special hybridized plant. This is new, and since it's a patent-protected technology and method, nobody really knows what it is or how it's done. So unfortunately, that's all that I can give to you today on real cannabis honey. What I can talk about is other products that are commercially available, and that is the cannabis honey. Basically what this is regular honey that beekeepers get from their operations, and they infuse it with a cannabis extract, be it just CBD, so there's no mental effects, or you could get a full spectrum or THC also. So that means you get a body relaxing and you get the mental stimulation from it. Those are not technically honey. It's considered a honey product because the only thing that qualifies as honey is 100% pure honey from the bees. So even when you're in the grocery store, check out what the cheap bottles of honey say. They might say something like honey blend or honey mix, not pure honey. The stuff we get from the frames from the bees, pure honey. Anything else is not pure. So you might be purchasing cannabis honey or canna honey. That is really a mixed product. It's a honey product and not necessarily pure. It's a lot of specific rules, but I appreciate our food and the FDA having specific rules for calling specific things that we eat. I don't know if you've ever read The Jungle, but it's a heck of a book. So that is my really quick conversation about cannabis honey and honeybees. I do want to talk about a few other quick things. The first thing is honeydew. Honeydew is when a sap-sucking insect taps into a tree, or in this case, it could be a cannabis plant. Some of these suckers are leaf hoppers, aphids, scales, even the spotted lanternfly, which is invading my area here in the Pocono Mountains. They suck the sap, and then they poop out what's left. They extract some micronutrients and leave behind a lot of moisture and sugar. When there's not a lot of food in the environment, the honeybees are going to pick up whatever they can find. Many times, if they find honeydew and that's the only thing that they can find, they're going to eat it and they're going to turn it into honey. So one potential way that the essence of a cannabis plant could find its way into your beehives is through honeydew. Since cannabis or hemp plants don't make their own nectar, if there's an aphid that taps in and excretes some honeydew or some waste product, and the honeybees decide to consume that and bring it back to the hive, that is a roundabout way of producing canna honey. I don't think it's going to have anything in it that's going to make you feel any kind of way. Of course, I have not done extensive research on that. So if you find it an interesting article, I'd love for you to drop it in the comments so I can see it as well. Other things, I do want to talk about pollen. I said that the plants are wind pollinated, but that doesn't mean the bees, if there is no other incentivized pollen around, so no plants that need to be pollinated by bees are blooming, and the bees still need protein, they might still extract some of that pollen off the leaves of the hemp plants. Again, that is only in a resource insecure setting. So if there's abundance of food, the bees are not interested. However, if there's not a lot of food, they're going to take whatever they can get. So they might take honeydew, they might take the pollen, because, hey, everyone's got to eat, right? And the last thing I want to talk about, and this is really the most realistic thing that the bees are going to use from a cannabis plant or a hemp plant, is resins. People who enjoy the plants are thinking of a different kind of resin. But honeybees, our honeybees, use sap and resin from the environment to create a bee product called propolis or propolis. And basically what propolis is a mixture of resins from the environment. They usually take them from trees or whatever is excreting resin, and they'll mix it with some beeswax, and they'll gum up the walls of their cavity. So any of the boxes that you lift up and you see that there's this reddish, brownish kind of substance, that is pretty much propolis. And it's part of the immune system of the hive. I've probably talked about propolis a ton before, and I'm definitely anticipating to do a designated BeekTalk about resin, about propolis itself. However, the cannabis plants do excrete resins that some people have observed honeybees collecting that resin. I have not been able to find any extensive research that tested bee propolis to see if it contained any flora of cannabis plants. I think it's a new thing that we're able to research, since now it's kind of being decriminalized, so people are able to do some research about it. But it's a new thing, and that is my talk about cannabis honey for today. Like I said, I'm not an expert on this topic. I just figured since today is the 20th of April, it is certainly an appropriate time to talk about this topic. And hey, if you ever come across any research about this topic that's interesting and meaningful, you can certainly send it my way. In the comments of this live stream, I actually have the links to my two websites, blossomandbuzzbeekeeping.buzz and mightfight.buzz. So if you are looking for honeybees or more information about bees, you can find them on my websites. Also, I offer a varroa mite subscription service. I don't send you varroa mites, but I do send you the treatments on how to combat those mites. So if you're a new beekeeper and have no idea how to handle varroa mites, certainly check out Mite Fight and give it a subscribe. And I'll send you 3 mite treatments a year and give you directions on how to apply them. And I'll send them at the right time. So there's really no confusion and really no excuse for you to be treating your hives for mites. So I do see that Alex dropped in a comment here, and it's a big one. So interesting research. Mad honey is not cannabis, and bees cannot make canna honey. That is true. You can eat raw cannabis and not get high. It's also true. The cannabinoids have to be decarbed. Yep. So we're just talking about how to make this honey product. Usually, people will decarb their flour and put it in a different substance like glycerin or in Everclear, like an alcohol-based thing. And I actually don't think I can see the full comment, unfortunately. But I'll after the show, I'll go in and I'll respond to you, Alex. But certainly, it's an interesting topic. It's a new topic. People really love their cannabis-infused products. So if you're a person who sells bee products, it might be worth the investment to do some legal research to see what your jurisdiction needs to sell infused products. I'm actually working with a local hemp grower myself to offer some hemp bee products as well. But like I said, I think it's an interesting topic, especially for today. And I think that's the show, folks. I wanted to get in really quick and do this before we hear a verdict on the trial everyone's watching. But that is my Beek Talk for today. I love doing this show. If you have any questions or concerns, drop them in the comments. You can send me a message on any of the social medias, as well as on my websites. And that is it for today. And happy beekeeping.